absolutely not buying any Game Key games on Switch 2, period. None of them. Zero. I mean, that's like most of the third-party games shown for the system so far. You're going to miss out on a lot of games.
Well, that is 99% of Nintendo Switch 2's catalog. And what I find so embarrassing about this, didn't you Nintendo fanboys advocate for physical media? And to make matters worse, you guys Switch 1 versions that are on the cartridge, but you fast forward to Switch 2 and the same games ain't on the cartridge. Explain that, Doctre. Oh, it's third party, Nobody want to hear these excuses, man. Sonic Shadow Generations is on the cartridge on Switch 1. Yakuza 0 could have fit at least on a 32 gigabyte cartridge, which we already know that that's what Nintendo did with Tears of Kingdom, and that's not what's happening. It seems like ever since Nintendo introduced this new feature of companies being able to choose what they want, they're choosing the lazy option. Nobody cares about what you're talking about, bro. The fact that you Nintendo fanboys are out here advocating for game key cards shows you how much of a hypocrite you are. Let me guess, you're going to point the finger at Sony and talk about how Doom Dark Ages ain't on the CD and it's only 35 megabytes. Well, let me tell you something, right? Majority of those games, they run on 100 gigabyte disk capacity, right? Can we all agree? Doom Dark Ages is 160 gigabytes. See, the problem is you got games like Poe Tetris that is a game key card. Survival Kids. Are you trying to tell me that couldn't fit on a 1 or 2 gigabyte cartridge, which would have even been expensive? See, this is what you're not understanding. There's games that shouldn't even be on the game key card in the first place. Now, Madden, I'd even go as far to say that Cyberpunk, instead they didn't do the bare minimum. They put it on a 64 gigabyte cartridge. But even then, I go as far to say that they didn't have to do that for that game. You got games that should perfectly fit fine on a 16 or 32 gigabyte cartridge, and they're not on it, kid. You like 50 years old and you still damage controlling, bruh?
I don't care. I'll just get them on PlayStation 5. We need to send a message. There's already games like that require internet download for PS5. Just today, we just found out that the new Doom game requires internet to install the entire game.
That's a bad example. And like I've said, the game is over 160 gigabytes. And the funny thing is, we already know Sony actually had a patent to do 500 gigabyte disc, but they, for some reason, canceled it. They never really came out with it. You guys can even look up this information. So this also shows you that Sony and the rest of these companies didn't want you owning your games in the first place, because they could have done it. They just choose not to. Do you get what I'm saying? But this is the reality of gaming. Gaming is going all digital. Gamester with another W.
It's only like 35 megabytes on the entire disc. And, hey man, look. I don't care what these Sony niggas is doing. Okay?
Sony ain't doing it. That's Microsoft. And like I said, Microsoft is known for doing this. That's not Sony, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is on the CD with 2 discs. How are you going to use this as an example when PlayStation has put the vast majority of their own personal games on the disc? You using Microsoft as a reason as to why that's happening on PlayStation is a terrible argument, Doctre. What are you doing?
About Nintendo. Nintendo is the last bastion, the last hope on this physical game front. So they need to do better. They're held to a higher standard. Well, maybe there just isn't that many different sizes of these new cards available. They do run at a faster speed.
Because Cyberpunk put their game on a 64 gigabyte cartridge. What are you talking about, bro? Look at you capping, man. Matter of fact, the games that are coming on Switch 2 could fit within the constraints of a 32 gigabyte cartridge. So what are you talking about, man? Just like we seen with Tears of Kingdom, as to why you justified the additional $10 that you paid. Well, guess what? The third party could have did the same. But no, Nintendo advocated for third party to use the lazy option instead and not actually put games on a cartridge. And this is the reason as to why this is happening. Because guess what? This is not even happening on Switch 1, but it's happening on Switch 2. You got Poe Tetris, which is probably only 700 megabytes. And you're trying to tell me, Doctre81, that game couldn't fit on the cartridge? Come on, bro. See, the reason why people are arguing is that the games that they're seeing could actually fit on the dang cartridge. What do you don't understand? If it was a Red Dead Redemption 2 or something of that nature, then people would probably, or even Madden. You don't hear people making these complaints about games like that because we understand that those games normally have huge file sizes. But are you serious? Poey Tetris and Survival Kids? Are you kidding me? Come on, bro. Come on, Doc.
It's like the micro SD express card, so maybe they're just not that many available.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Well, you know what? That's Nintendo's problem. They should have figured that out before launch. But Nintendo doesn't make the cards, though. How did Reggie say it?
What do you mean? What do you mean they don't make the cards? Yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's their system, which utilizes cartridges. How are you going to sit there and say they don't make the cards, bruh? What are you talking about? What do you mean they don't make the cards? I mean, didn't you see Mario Kart? What do you think that's on? Oh, ding, 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 ding. Good answer. A cartridge. Who you think made that? Who you think made that? Can I put that cartridge on any other system besides the Nintendo Switch? I don't think so. Bro, this man losing it, bro.
Not my problem. I mean, maybe it's just super expensive. Like, I heard that the 64 gig carts for Switch 2, they cost them like $16 a piece. Like,
but you're not, bro. And you're absolutely right about that. But what are you not understanding, bro? The games that ain't on the cartridge is Tetris. The game that ain't on the cartridge is Sonic and Shadows, bruh. What do you don't get, man? See, this is the problem with you Nintendo fanboys, is the fact that you guys are accepting this garbage. Say whatever you want about Xbox or PlayStation, but at the end of the day, if the game could fit on the CD, they more likely will put it on the CD. The reason as to why you see a lot of games like that, and that's not to justify it, right? Because they're still raising the price tag of $80 games from Microsoft and still not giving you the full experience on the disc, which I find crazy. So this is all anti-consumer anyway. It's about time gamers like you start calling this out, but no, you got to defend your precious Nintendo, right?
A lot. Yet, Cyberpunk still uses it. Well, that's true, but that also means that the price of the game isn't going to drop anytime soon either. I don't care. I would gladly pay more money if it meant all games would be physical. Well, most of the new games on Switch 2 are $70 already, so you want to pay even more than that?
What are you talking about? The game, bro. Listen, bro. Survival Kids and Poey Tetris, bro. Listen to what I'm saying. Those games are like, what, 700 megabytes? There's no excuse as to why those games ain't on the cartridge. You can't even come. Sonic Shadow Generations is on the Switch 1. But it ain't on the Switch 2 on the cartridge? There's so many different examples, and people are sitting there like, I'm confused. It's like, this doesn't make sense. And I think Sonic Shadow Generations is within the constraints of 32 gigabytes. Yakuza 0 is like 24 gigabyte capacity. They could have fit that on a 32 gigabyte cartridge. They could have. They just chose not to because you know why? Third party is lazy. And Nintendo has enabled them to do this behavior. That's why you guys are dealing with this problem on Switch 2. And what's even more laughable, we barely even got through the Switch 2 generation and games are already on the game key card. We thought this would happen maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. Oh no, it's happening before the system even come out.
If it means I could get the physical version over this game key garbage, absolutely.
I think most gamers would advocate for that because that's something that I brought up. Because let's be honest, physical media is kind of for the collector, kind of for the guy that wants to, hold on to his collection. And they could have still offered the digital version, which they're already doing, at a cheaper price. What excuse are you going to come up with now, Doctre?
Definitely pay. So, which Switch 2 did you order? What's that? Which Switch 2 did you order? Did you order the standalone or did you order the Mario Kart bundle? The Mario Kart bundle, of course. Okay, so let me ask you this. If you care so much about physically owning the game, and you just said that you're willing to pay more money to physically own the game...
That's a terrible argument, because there's a huge difference. Maybe he could only pre-order what he could get. Who's to say that there will be enough physical copies for him to even play Mario Kart World in the first place? What are you talking about, bro? You hear this, Nintendo fanboy? This has nothing to do with the argument. Because at the end of the day, even if you bought that bundle, you're still getting $30 off of a game that is priced at $80. That is a huge difference. But the difference between the third party, that the game key card and the digital version are the same. That's what you don't understand. You're acting as if you're getting a significant discount for buying a game key card in favor if you bought it digital. That is not what's going on here, Doc. That is one of the worst excuses that I've ever heard this man say.
Why didn't you buy the standalone version of Switch 2 and buy Mario Kart 8 physically. Why did you spring
Mario Kart 8. So even he knows the game's the same.
for the digital version of Mario Kart?
This literally proves nothing because that goes to show you that Mario Kart World should be priced at $60 because even we found out what that game, that's on a 24 gigabytes, maybe 70 if you want to use Tears of Kingdom as a template of 32 gigabyte cartridge games, 80 for 64 gigabytes considering. And what y'all don't understand, when that new Legend of Zelda come out, it's gonna run on a 64 gigabyte cartridge, and that's when Nintendo's gonna push the $100 price tag. Remember when he said, or y'all like games, so that's not true. Remember, $80 Mario Kart. We already know why they're doing it with Mario Kart because they're using the name to sell the game alone, but it should be $70. It should be 60, but we'll just say 70 due to the 32 gigabyte cartridge that they use, right? We'll just say that much. Think about it. If $80 plus 16 is what? 96, add the tax, how much is that? Oh, Snag Gang, so you're right. That is what? That is about $100. And that's exactly what the new Legend of Zelda is going to cost. Because you think Nintendo's not going to charge you to put their games on a bigger cartridge, you will be a dummy not to think so. They've already done it to you with the Switch 1, with Tears of Kingdom. Don't even sit there and say that I'm wrong, bro. They already setting y'all up and y'all people eating up this mediocrity. This man has no argument, man. You know, out here defending game keycards, bro. Explain to me, man. You got a lot of Switch 1 games that are on the cartridge. I mean, you even got Suikoden. How is that game on the cartridge for Switch 1, but ain't on the cartridge on Switch 2? The Switch 2 looks like a huge downgrade in comparison to the Switch 1, because at least with the Switch 1, you have some form of ownership with the game. You're trying to tell me Bravely Default couldn't fit on the cartridge, Doctre? See, this is the problem. This is why people have an issue with the Switch 2, because it's inconsistent. You know what I'm saying? I think the way that I'm telling people are like, yeah, I can agree with that. I'll pay a little bit more. I'll pay for the additional manufacturing fee just to get these games on a cartridge. We will do that. And if you don't care enough to do that, which would only be for a physical game collector, well, we'll just buy the digital version, because that's exactly what you're doing when you buy the game key card. There's really no point in buying that either. And on top of that, with this whole system, which y'all don't get, was you able to take your games from Wii to Wii U? Barely. Was you able to take your Wii U games? Oh, that's right. They took Virtual Console away from you. They put it through an emulation service that you're paying for. You guys are getting ripped off, bro. Y'all are absolutely stupid. And this is the reason why the gaming community is a joke. You got Microsoft charging $80 for games and they still can't put the games on the CD. You're paying more money and you're getting a much more inferior experience. What do y'all don't understand, bro? Y'all still paying more money and you're getting an inferior experience in the end. Now, Game Pass is the only saving grace, because y'all say we're done for playing it through Game Pass, but you got ponies paying $70 or $100 for a premium edition of Doom, and you don't even own the game. So I don't know who's stupid, because I could pay $20 for the month, play it, and then unsubscribe, while you people paying for a game you don't even own. It's temporary. You're paying for license keys. Y'all dumb. And to be honest with you, I would never want to buy digital games off Nintendo, because you know why? They're known for shutting down what, guys? eShops. Let's bring up the Wii. What happened to that? Oh, that got closed down. Even the PS3 shop. Hold on. You want to sit there? Oh, but it's bro. Even the PS3 store is up. I don't want to hear that excuse. Even the 360 store was up for some time. The PS3, you can still get games on it. You can still download your catalog of classics. Even with the 360, you can. I don't think you can buy anything, but you can download your remaining games. Those systems came out in 2006. The Wii got closed down. The Wii U got closed down. So there's something that I know about Nintendo. I don't trust them when it comes to my intellectual purchases of buying anything from their ecosystem, because Nintendo is known for shutting things down. And y'all know this. For all the people that bought Wii games, Virtual Console games, y'all got to pay to play the same games you already own. Oh, look at that. We got Donkey Kong Country through a subscription service that you pay every month. You understand that you own these games on the Wii and the Wii U, and you can't take them to the Switch 2 or the Switch 1? Y'all stupid, man. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, man, Doctre, you don't know what the hell you talk about.